Hello, everyone. My name is Bobby O'Perry,
And I'm Brian Simmons.
and this is episode 7 of Two Perspectives podcast. Brian and I will share a controversial conversation which can be looked at as a taboo. In this discussion, we will be sharing a topic on wages, which we have learned over many of the years that it could be used as something that causes friction between our family and peers when it comes to creating salary, moving up the ladder and things of that sort. But due to this friction, it has handicapped people into not understanding how finances work, knowing their worth, and the struggles that come with managing money. And this video will help you identify the three types of systems of how you can start making money. And these topics will include hourly, salary, and commissions. So if any of you have experience in any of these, write in the comments down below what your thoughts are and what your interpretation of it as this discussion flows. Okay, so define wages.
Somewhere where you go somewhere where you go to work and get a paycheck. That is the most easiest thing to define wages, pretty much.
I think from my perspective of it, it's like there has to be some type of profit lens because I think it can get overwhelming for people that own the business of how can I pay my employees, how many people to employ, how do I manage everything, and it causes a lot of friction on their end. And I have met some people that are just like, okay, I'm gonna pay myself enough just to pay rent and my necessities and everything else goes out to everyone else, you know? Like you always pay yourself last. So I think by having this conversation, it'll open up people's lens from both perspectives, you know? So in your so we're gonna go into hourly wages. So how would you define hourly wages and what do you feel like are some of the pros and cons when it comes to it?
So for hourly wages, for me personally, I think it's pretty good to do it because the pro of it is that if your company decides to ask you to stay a couple of hours after your shift, they're going to have to physically pay you. You can either get straight pay or overtime pay, but who wants straight pay after working so many hours in a week? So everybody wants to get overtime pay.
Hmm.
So that's pretty much a pro. Also, you and a also for pro is that you know how much you're getting paid an hour, so nobody can blindside you when you get your um salary or when you get your paycheck. You can literally look on your pay stubs and say, okay, this I know how much hours I made for last week, so I know how much money I should get paid for this week, or depending on the situation, if you get paid every 2 weeks or every week. So you that's a pro, so you know how much you're getting paid. Um, a con, I would have to say for an hourly wage, mm, it's pretty much obviously not getting overtime, but pretty much straight paying away. I don't really know much about cons about hourly because it depends on each individual,
Hmm.
especially me working in the service. Well, we call it here in Bermuda hospitality. I think in America you guys call it service jobs or
Yeah,
uh,
it's still hospitality because
yeah.
it's kind of like hotels and all that.
So um, you know what you're making an hour.
I like how you defined everything. I do agree with you. Hourly, you can monitor how much that you're making, but I feel like there's that financial barrier where people don't understand how taxes work, benefits, and how it cuts into your paycheck. So when you think you're going to be making X, Y, and Z, you have to um, understand your income bracket
True.
and each percentage that involves. So when you start doing overtime, you don't realize that they're taking a lot of that money back. So you have to think, is it really worth it or not? Um, I think hourly can be good for people who want to balance multiple jobs, people that have busy, active lives. Some
Yeah.
people have like a maybe a full-time job in the daytime and then picking up a part-time job just to save to go on vacations, spend on expanding your family, planning a wedding, or any of those things. Like I said, there are some pros and cons. You just have to identify what is it worth to you. Do you want to work more hours? Do you want to work less hours? What type of industry are you working in?
Great.
And for another example, a couple years ago, I think it probably was during the pandemic. There was a hotel that's close by me. It was a prestige hotel, probably like a 4 or 5 star hotel in Boston, and people were protesting and they wanted higher salaries. They protested for a whole year. And I was trying to figure out how much are these people making because I thought some people were making like 20 something dollars an hour maybe. Because I have
Mm.
been to some hotels where the baseline was about 19, $20 an hour. Um, but I guess they were making $14 an hour. So they protested for a year, rain, sleet, snow. They were out there with their signs, chanting, and everything. And by the end, all they did was just get $1 raise. And I'm like, you did all this hard work protesting, and all you got was $1. So,
Well, it also depends on for hotel because I worked in many of hotels, but it also depends on what department you come in. Yes, you have a certain pay, but then you also have to think of tips. You also have to think of um, gratuities because for housekeeping, it's best for when the hotel is full because you make more money if the hotel is full because every room you do, you also get a commission off for it as well in hotels. So that all depends on whether the hotel is full or not. Now, if, like you said, the people protests make more money, you have to think, are they getting the commission for or the gratuities added to the pay stubs to make it whereas it's a sensible living? Because I work in restaurants and getting gratuities boosts up your hourly wages, even though you make X amount of money for your base. Say let's say you make $17, but then in working in a restaurant, you also get gratuitous. So that there's gratuitous dependent on how busy your restaurant is, can literally up your wages to almost $25 an hour. If you
Mhm.
calculate it once you get your money and all of that, you can always calculate it to see because of the gratuitous pretty much. So, like I said, it all depends on if that hotel was paying the staff gratuitous.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of factors. And also looking into unions. And I'll probably mention that at the very end. So let me make a side note
Mhm.
because that could be a pros and cons as well.
Yeah, it can be. I've learned from experience.
Okay, now salary.
Well,
Defining and pros and cons.
for salary, for me personally, in my opinion, I see all cons in salary pretty much because I know if I worked in a salary job, whereas it doesn't matter how much hours you make in a week. You can do 40 hours one week and 80 hours the next week, and you're still going to get the exact same pay. Now, I think the only pro I have for salary when it comes to that is I know here in Bermuda, in some establishments, not all, if you're on a salary base, because literally the salary is based off of a 40-hour week.
Mm,
Now, if you go over the 40-hour week during salary, some companies do time in lieu, whereas, say, for instance, you worked more than 40 hours 1 week. Say, for instance, you did an extra 16 hours on salary.
mm,
Now, that's considered 2 days in lieu, meaning
mhm,
meaning that there's a days where, say, for instance, you just don't want to go work. And
mhm,
you know you have a day in lieu, you can use that day in lieu so you don't have to go to work. Because technically you worked extra hours in your salary. Now, I think that's the only pro that I can give for salary, whereas you can get days in lieu if you need to take that time off, because no matter what, you're still gonna get that same pay on your next pay stub, regardless, because it's just that salary. Me personally, I wouldn't do salary because I've seen companies use and abuse their workers because they're on salary. So
mhm,
me personally, I would rather stick to hourly because you're going to pay me that hour, that extra hour, or that extra 2 hours. You're not going to use and abuse me because you know I'm on salary, because technically you're never officially off
mhm.
salary, because even if they call you on your day off, you can say no, but in a way you can't say no because
I agree.
they're paying you anyway. So I think that's the reason why I would never do hourly. So I mean that's the reason why I would never do salary, because they can physically use you and abuse you, and you pretty much can't say anything. So
I think it depends. As a worker, I would prefer hourly because, like I said, you have the flexibility of schedule. You get paid for all the time that you're there and some. Sometimes it's time and a half, times two, depending on what you're working for. And the retirement money adds up very fast when you're dedicating a lot of time and effort into overtime. So you can invest into that retirement fund, Roth IRAs, bonds, and all that. Whereas salaries, I think, as a business owner, um, I think for me, when I was asked a discussion on a line about what is the best payroll provider for your company, let me tell you, in just a matter of a couple of hours, there were 50 comments. By the end of the month, there were 100 and something comments. By the end of the quarter, it was like 300 and something comments. And I'm just like, I can't get to all these people, but let me talk to the top 25, 50 people, and I'll see which ones have the same company so I can filter out because you only can work with one agent for each company. List out the pros and cons, and then I had to make my own pros and cons list. And I said, maybe for me, I have someone that I work with internationally. So I need a provider that will work with that. I need something that will offer me HR services, a team that will help manage how the company runs while I'm focused on creating content and producing all the things that I need to sustain my business. And I needed something to be affordable but not cheap. So I thought maybe I could put myself on a small salary, pay myself a decent salary just to get the payrolls running, and then have some of my employees work as 1099 workers who are commission and pay them based off the service, whether I need a graphic design for a logo, whether I need something edited for a quick video. I mainly do it myself, but just in case I want certain effects or um, get rid of background noise or something like that. It's good for that. Or if I'm booked with a lot of clients and I want to ease up the workload, I have someone to give some of that work to. So it gave me that peace of mind. So it just depends. So I think when you're starting out in your business, you might want to start out with salary just to get the pay cycle going.
Mm,
And then as you're hiring people, start them on commission and then eventually get them on hourly.
right.
But it just depends. Like I have seen both sides. Now for me, salary, I think it would be good. However, like you said, it can be very stressful depending on the environment that you're in.
Mm,
But some jobs are including quality of life. Like they'll give you discounts on health and wellness, health care. Like I said, the benefit package is a lot different from if you're working hourly. So once you take into effect of all that, um, and also keep in mind, you have to ask them, are they deducting any of this from your salary or is this a gift to you? But once you can identify that, then I think you can make your choice on depending on do you want to take on the salary job versus this hourly.
you're right.
Okay, the next one is commission based.
So for commission base, pretty much obviously that's in the service industry type of jobs, or if you're a lawyer, um, what's this the an agent, what is it? What
Like
is
a
it?
publicist or
Oh my gosh,
estate agent.
the people that sell you houses. Oh my
I
gosh.
said it, real estate agent.
Real estate, there you go. Gosh, that word just got away from there's people like do working they mostly work on commissions, or someone that's doing a project in a big company.
hmm
There's commissions, and commissions can be really good because they can give you a bonus in your pay.
hmm
So I I really don't see any cons in commission. The only con I can think of is if the company doesn't pay you your commission for doing a good work, for doing a good work, or
hmm
if you're bad at your job, I don't think you should get commission anyway. But I have no issues about commission because that shows you or gives you a boost in doing a project or trying to sell a house or even renting a house, because here in Bermuda we have a lot of real estate agents that do rental properties, whereas the owner of the house and the tenant, they don't have to communicate with each other. They can just communicate um, between the real estate agents. So
hmm
I had a house like that here where I never saw my landlord, didn't never spoke to my landlord. If I had a problem with my house, I had always contacted the real estate agent because she was the one that took care of all the house issues. So that's how she got her commission as well. Is when I pay my rent, she gets a little bit of it because obviously she um I wouldn't say sold the house, but she rented the house to me. So that's how she got her commission. But well, now talking about it, I think a con, especially for real estate agents, if the tenant doesn't pay their rent, you can't get commission. Well, I think they still get commission. It's just probably comes out of the landlord's pocket. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a real estate agent. I'm just assuming. It's just my opinion. I don't know. But for me, I think commission is a really good tool to boost people, especially in the office mentality.
I agree. Commissions can be good. Like for instance, if you're in the videography space, photography, real estate, Ubers, or anything that has to do with dealing with the public or working with businesses, I think commissions can be really good because it gives you some type of authority, because it gives you access to making your own money at your own time. You do have to file taxes, of course. Make sure that you download QuickBooks or anything. I do have some links down below. But it's good to make sure that you keep track of everything. Honeybooks is a good platform for contracts, but making sure that you get the money before you do the work, or making people pay a deposit fee before doing the work. So you make sure that you're getting paid what you're supposed to get paid. And
Mm.
then before you get everything delivered and sent out to your customer, make sure that you get that final deposit before sending it out. Otherwise, they get that work basically for free or for how much that they gave you originally. Um, the downside of commissions is that you really have to work like overtime, overdrive. And sometimes people can take away that work-life balance. Like, we'll say, for instance, I love WeWork. You have people who are either college students, people that are starting companies, or people that work for different corporations come and do their work collectively. And in that space, not only are you doing work, but you're able to attend webinar settings, do international events, travel to different branches, and expose yourself to different outlooks of people so you feel like you're normal. It's a different type of normal. Not saying that you're different, but the way that people look at you is completely different. I think when people look at those that are commission based, they think of them less than, unless if they're making a ton of money or they feel like they have to disclose it. Versus if you're on salary. Salary always has been looked at as a holy grail. Everyone thinks if your salary, you're making at least 80,000, 100,000, 500,000, depending on what industry that you're in. It's just a fantasy that people are becoming accustomed to because that's all we see online. But is that the real reality? No, maybe. It depends.
But just to piggyback on that, yes, looking at the salary on paper looks good, but also if as well, especially in the jobs that you have that you get gratuitous, people
Mhm.
that are on hourly and getting gratuitous as well can actually beat people
Yes.
that are on salary.
Hmm.
Because it, like I said, it all depends on how busy that company is that
Hmm.
week. So some people that work hourly, even though your hourly is like below minimum wage, with that if that certain company is busy every day, now mind you, without the company stealing grats from you, you can actually make more than a salary worker.
So this section is sponsored by JustWorks. If you're looking for a payroll company that provides HR services that will help you manage your money a lot better, whether that you're a service-based business, product-based business, or looking to get into figuring out what type of wages to start out with, whether it's salary, hourly, or commissions, JustWorks is the platform for you. I put on Alignable, asking people, what is the best payroll company that I should collaborate with? Many people have suggested Gusto, Heartland, OnPay, QuickBooks, and when I heard JustWorks and what it had to offer, whether it's quality of life, good health care plan, some wellness, and also affordability while not being cheap and not being expensive. And I get assistance without having to pay extra money. Why not sign up for JustWorks? So use my code down below, my link, and get your subscription started. Now, if you're a Black owned or minority owned business, you can apply for the grant that is eligible through my course, Decoding Payroll. I am collaborating with JustWorks to help provide resources to minority-owned businesses, offering them up to $6,000. For all the details on it, definitely subscribe to my course, Decoding Payroll, link down in the description box below. Like I said, you don't want to miss out on this opportunity, and I will connect you with the right people that will help you get started with your financial journey today. No matter if you're a startup or a corporation, they have a good, solid team that will help you manage everything for you. So, back to the video. So, now we're going to go into unions because this is a financial piece right here. Some people prefer unions, some people don't like unions. The job that I work for my full time, outside of my company that I work full time as well, I have a union and they gave me great quality of advice. They are there when I need them. And I have seen the dark side of where people have unions at their jobs where they feel like they're not doing their job and that they only help out people that are higher up, management. But where I work, everybody has their own union, whether that you're hourly worker, management, supervisors, everybody has their own union. Like I said, the only drawback is the costs of it weekly or monthly that you're paying out of each paycheck. But other than that, I enjoy it and they are a great resource. And I have had jobs where they didn't have unions, so if you get fired, you're rarely fired and you might have to try to get unemployment, which can be very difficult in some states, but at least with the union, they're more likely to secure your job and try to work things out so you don't have to go back and forth with management. So, what's your thoughts?
Uh, well, since I'm not in the same country as you, it's quite a bit different. So the only jobs here that have unions is pretty much hotels
Mm-hmm.
because I don't even know because it's just that mostly hotels have unions. Restaurants don't have unions because they're pretty much owned by one person. Um, so it's not like a big company. But me having a union and paying my dues, oh my gosh. Sometimes the union can help you, and sometimes the union can physically stab you in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the motto for the union, sir, is all for one and one for all.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing stuff in different eyes, that all for one and one for all crap can just be thrown out the window because some people are for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're saying they're going to help you or they're going to try to help you, at the end, it should benefit them. But like I said, union is a union. Um, I've worked in places where there's no union. I also worked in places that have unions. But either or, everybody should know their rights with or without a union. Even though a union is great for backup, whereas they just can't physically fire you, um, and then you're out of a job. Because here we don't have unemployment. If you
Mm-hmm.
got fired, you're fired. You can't get any income. So hopefully that you saved up when you were at that job. But on the other hand, they just can't fire you like that.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be a legitimate reason why they're firing you. Like if you stole something, if
Mm-hmm.
you just was being mean. Well, not even just being mean, because nowadays people match energies, especially we match energies. But here they just can't fire you because they don't like you. It has to be a legitimate reason, or that company can get a big fine and they can get put on the investigation and all of that. But a lot of people like to keep it um, in the fines of their own company and do it without it being publicized. So,
And I just want to clarify the unemployment thing for many people that are watching, and maybe for people that may be overseas and don't understand unemployment here. Um, you can only collect unemployment for a good reason. Um, that's on a spectrum. So, for example, you got fired because you felt like you were discriminated against. Do you have proof? Do you have quotes? Do you have anything recorded? But
Mhm.
keep in mind, in certain states, you cannot video record or audio record. You just have to look into the rules and stipulations when it comes to video. Did something happen in the workplace where you felt like you were going to get harmed or you just can't quit, basically? Or you got laid off because they couldn't afford you, job cuts. There has to be like a specific reason because it asks you what type of category. Not only do you have to submit, the job has to then verify that all these things have happened to you. And if they approve it, then you're eligible for it. But you get a very small percentage of what you paid into. But that's the purpose behind taxes and all that of them taking it out so you can get some of that money back. But like I said, every state is different and how the regulations work. But like I said, you have to have a good reason. So when I think of these different wages and how systems work, there's a lot of policies that go into it. I don't think people make up things just because. I think people, when you apply for a job, you need to look at the job descriptions. You need to look at the keynotes that they're highlighting. When you do your job interview, ask what a typical day is like. Is it high stress? Is it low stress? Is it busy? Is it slower? What is the pace? What does a typical day look like? Benefits, all these things. Ask about unions, get clarification, get handbooks, make sure that you read through it. Do not sign anything on no dotted line, no matter how much that your boss interrogates you. If you have a union, go to that steward, read through it before you sign anything. Because once you sign something, you verify that you actually did something that you may have never done. But people don't always read and people don't may not know all the things to do at certain times. But the union is there to clarify any props that you may have. When you're working hourly, make sure that you're being accountable for how much work that you're putting in. When your salary, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to sacrifice work-life balance, but try to fit it in. Commission, it's all about hustle, building that network, building that clientele. It's a process. There will
Mhm.
be pros and there will be cons about anything that you do. But yeah, any final thoughts right before we close out?
Just know your worth.
Mm-hmm.
Know your worth. Don't settle for anything just because the pay is low. Know your worth. Like for me, I know my worth. I know that I'm a good hard worker. Um, so I know your worth. That's all I have to say. Is negotiate. No.
Mm-hmm.
Just to piggyback on when you said about interviews, I just learned recently, well, not just learned, well, I just saw a video yesterday about someone talking about interviews. It's just off the topic situation.
Mm-hmm.
Is when you go into an interview, the guy said, even though yes, you are desperate to look for a job because maybe you need the money or your previous job or your current job is just too toxic where you're trying to get out. He said when you get into an interview, when they ask you why are you leaving your current job, don't say you leave. Just say I'm not interested in leaving my current job. I just saw your job description online and I thought it had matched with my career moves. So I just wanted to get an interview to see if the company and me match. So pretty much he when he said that, I was like, oh yeah. So just don't when someone so any advice when you go to interview, don't seem desperate. Because
Mm-hmm.
remember, they want you to work for them because that's why they're putting out the jobs. So now when people go into interview, just say I'm not currently looking. I'm your career move, your company is something that I would think about um just changing up my career or I'm not actively looking. Yeah, he that I don't know who I it just was it just came up on my timeline, and I watched it, and I forgot to get the name of the gentleman that was saying it, but it was pretty good insight. So if I ever do another interview, I'm doing that. Whereas I'm not currently looking, I'm just seeing what's out there to see
Just make
how I should up my career. And I think that was good advice. But I know that was off topic, but I just wanted to let just to
Oh, it's definitely on topic. Just make sure that you know your worth. Don't try to highball people knowing that you don't have the experience or don't have the work ethics, because people can, in that 90-day window, they can let you go for any reason. And you already know that people will always try to lowball you at first, but you
always.
can work your way up. But just know your worth and don't be afraid to communicate. If it's a taboo in your household or around your parents and you don't want people in your business, go to your local bank, whether it's Chase, Bank of America, um, Chase Bank. They have people who are financial planners and they help you invest into your future. So many resources out there. We're gonna wrap up. So closing out, you can follow me on YouTube, the BPerryFilms Experience, TikTok and Instagram, BPerryFilms, LinkedIn, Bobby L. Perry, and Brian.
You know exactly what I'm going to say. If you haven't seen the latest videos, then oh wow. But yeah, I, I don't understand this. If you find me on social media, you find me on social media. If you don't, you don't. Oh wow.
All right, tuning out.